Thank you and good morning. I'm Councillor Jennifer McKelvey. I'm Chair of Scarborough Community Council and I'm chairing today's meeting. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I'll call meeting 25 to order. Welcome, everyone. Members, before we begin our meeting, we will pause to mourn the discovery of 751 unmarked graves at the site of a former Maryville school in Saskatchewan on the Cowsissis First Nation, and remember all Indigenous families who didn't come home, the survivors and their families. Please join me in a moment of silence to mark this time of grief and to recognize the ongoing need for truth and reconciliation. Thank you. Today's meeting is being held by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting by video conference. As civic buildings remain closed, the public will continue to participate electronically and can watch the meeting streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. I ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues. The clerk staff have connected all registered speakers to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Scarborough Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Clerk's IT staff will be available to assist members with their devices. I would like to remind staff to keep their mics muted and their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to the committee. This will make it easier for me as chair to observe those watching on YouTube and to observe members as they participate and debate and vote on items. Members, please remember to keep your mics muted unless you wish to question staff or speak to an item, and ensure that your video is on. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to question staff or speak. I'll then create a speakers list and we'll call on members when it's their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure their video on their is turned on and raise their hand to indicate the vote. I want to remind you that you must still submit and approve your motions by email. City staff are available at sec@toronto.ca to help with motions. Although we are in different locations and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you have an interest, please raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate the item number and the nature of interest. Seeing none, may I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on May 18th, 2021? Councillor Ainsley, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. I understand, clerk, that we have one piece of new business. Can I please have a motion to add it to the agenda? Councillor Crawford, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That will be added to CMS. We'll now move through the agenda. So the first item is SC 25.1, final report for 11 Victoria Park Avenue, 2510 and 2530 Gerrard Street. Official plan amendment, zoning amendment, subdivision applications, Ward 20. Councillor Crawford, I understand there's a presentation, so can I hold?
Yep, and there's speakers to it as well, Madam Chair.
Okay. SC 25.2, final report, 2740 Lawrence Avenue East, zoning amendment, subdivision, Ward 21. Deputy Mayor Thompson, there's two speakers, so we'll hold this.
Chair.
Request for directions report 1966 to 2050 Eglinton Avenue East and 50 Thermos Road, official plan amendment, Ward 21. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can move the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? That item carries. SC 25.4 preliminary report 1900 Eglinton Avenue East zoning amendment application, Ward 2021. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With this one as well, I can move the recommendation. I'd just like to say that with respect to both this and the other, I would normally ask for an expanded notification, but there are no people living within even 300 meters. So we'll just keep it as it is and inform others as we move along. Thank you.
Okay. And you're moving staff recommendations then?
That's right. Yes, moving staff recommendations.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Preliminary report 111 to 141 Montezuma Trail zoning bylaw amendment application, Ward 23, Councillor Lai. There is one speaker, so we will hold this item.
Okay, fine.
SC 25.6 preliminary report 1125 to 1137 Markham Road and 2141 Ellesmere Road zoning amendment and draft plan subdivisions applications, Ward 24, Councillor Ainsley.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. SC 25.7 preliminary report 1050 Military Trail 40 Pan Am Drive zoning bylaw amendment application request to lift a holding provision, Ward 25. As this is in Ward 25, I'm prepared to move staff recommendations unless anybody else wants to hold this item. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? That item carries. SC 25.8 inclusion on the City of Toronto's Heritage Register 19 Park Crest Drive, Ward 20, Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe there's a supplementary report motion that I have to move that clerks have done up. Just that. That the recommendations in the report, May 25th, 21, from Senior Manager, Heritage Planning, Urban Design, City Planning, and the supplementary report from the Senior Manager, Heritage Planning, Urban Design, City Planning be adopted. I'll move that.
Okay, all those in favor of moving supplementary report? All those in favor of the item as amended? That item carries. Carly, can I just ask, are we able to deal with SC 25.9 to 25.17 as a package? I can read out the addresses.
Unfortunately not, because there are options in the recommendations, so we do have to move through each one separately.
Okay, here we go. All right, SC 25.9 residential demolition application 1 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. If anybody does not want to hold this, I'll move recommendation 3.
I'd like to hold it.
You like to hold it?
No, I'm just messing with you. I'm fine.
Okay, so all those in favor of recommendation 3? That item carries. SC 2510 residential demolition application 2 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3.
Can we ask why? I'm still messing with you.
All those in favor of recommendation 3? That item carries. SC 2511 residential demolition 4 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2512 residential demolition application 5 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? Opposed? That item carries. Sorry, am I on 12, Carly?
I believe you're on 13 now.
13. Okay. Residential demolition application 7 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2514 residential demolition application 10 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? That item carries. SC 2515 residential demolition application 11 Franklin Avenue, Ward 25. I am prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? That item carries. SC 2516 residential demolition application 6175 Kingston Road, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? That item carries. SC 2517 residential demolition application 6183 Kingston Road, Ward 25. I'm prepared to move recommendation 3. All those in favor? That item carries. That brings us to SC 2518 residential demolition application 2375 to 2381 Eglinton Avenue East, Ward 20. Councillor Crawford, we will hold it as there is a speaker.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
SC 2519, designation of a fire route and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes 300 Nantucket Boulevard, Ward 21. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
The recommendations.
All those in favor of staff recommendations? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2520, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes 2035 Kennedy Road and 625 Birchmount Road, Ward 20, Ward 25. The discussers Crawford and Mantis.
I'm good moving staff recommendations if my colleague is.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of staff recommendations? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2521, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Route 60 Fields Road, Ward 23. Councillor Lai.
I move staff recommendation, please.
Thank you, Councillor Lai. All those in favor of staff recommendations? Any opposed? That item carries. SC 2522, Metrolinx Go expansion, permanent closure of Steele Avenue East at Diversion Road, Ward 22. Councillor Mantis.
I'd like to move staff recommendations.
Okay, all those in favor of staff recommendations? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2523, parking amendment, Scarborough Crescent, Ward 20. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor, staff recommendations? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2524, traffic calming, Pitfield Road, Ward 25. Councillor Lai.
I move staff recommendations.
All those in favor of staff recommendations? Opposed? That item carries. SC 2525, all way stop control, Brimley Road South in Barkdean Hills, Ward 20. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor of staff recommendations? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 2526, safety improvements and sound mitigation on Highway 2A, Ward 25. If the committee will allow me, there's two short motions that I'd like to move on this, if we can pull those up. The first is that staff report back to Scarborough Community Council on the Highway 2A Toronto Hydro Street Lighting Assessment in the fall of 2021. And the second is that staff extend the noise assessment on the south side just slightly to the east to Centennial Road and consider sound barrier infrastructure throughout. All those in favor of the amendment? All those in favor of the motion as amended? That item carries. SC 2527, application for a fence exemption 28, Ilfracombe Crescent, Ward 21. Deputy Mayor Thompson, there are two speakers, so we will hold this. SC 2528, application for a fence exemption 64 Gray Crescent Lawn, Ward 21. Deputy Mayor Thompson, there is one speaker, so we will hold this. SC 2529, application for a fence exemption 18 Wakefield Crescent, Ward 22. Councillor Mantis.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move recommendation number 2.
Okay. Okay, would you like to read it?
Sorry. To grant the exemption to the property owners of 18 Wakefield Crescent to allow the existing swimming pool enclosure remain open so as to enter the swimming pool enclosure from the building dwelling and without a fourth fence in the rear yard to be maintained in the same condition without alteration at such time as replacement of the fence is required, that the replacement fence will comply with Municipal Code Chapter 447 fences or its successor bylaw.
Great. All those in favor? That item carries. SC 2530, application for a fence exemption 163 Darlingside Drive, Ward 25. Carly, I know we told you which one we're moving. Can you pull that up?
Madam Chair, I think we have speakers on that item.
Oh, right. Okay. Great. We'll hold that. And that brings us to Councillor Crawford's item, which because I don't have IT connection, are you able to pull it up so we could read that and move that now?
Yeah, I'm fine with moving. This, by the way, is an always stop. Staff do support this. It actually is coming from a staff report. It just couldn't get on the agenda in time. So if I could move that recommendation to there to do a four-way stop. Oh, here it comes. So that Scarborough Community Council authorized all-way compulsory stop control at the intersection of Presley Avenue and again, this is supported by staff.
Okay. All those in favor of the item? That item carries. So that brings us back up to SC 25.1, final report 411 Victoria Park Avenue, 2050-10 and 2050-30 Gerard Street, official plan amendment, zoning amendment, subdivision applications. There is a staff presentation, so I'll put that over to staff.
Actually, Madam Chair, I was mistaken. There is no staff presentation, but the first deputant was going to be speaking to the item. I was confused that she would be doing a presentation, but that she will be speaking to the item as the applicant for the first item. So there is actually no presentation for staff, and I apologize.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, Carly, because I don't have connection, do you mind calling out the first deputant?
Certainly. The first speaker we have listed on item SC 25.1 is Lori Payne.
Thank you, Chair and Community Council members. My name is Lori Payne. I'm Senior Vice President of Development at Diamond Corp. I am joined by Melissa Walker, Director of Development at Kilmer Group. Together, Diamond Kilmer are the owners and developers of the lands at 411 Victoria Park. Mainly, we're here to say that we support the staff recommendations as set out in the report. We are absolutely thrilled with how the plans for the lands have come together with a new community centered around a large public park with transit supportive mid-rise development, both rental and condo, as well as 120 units of affordable housing, and perhaps even a new elementary school in the neighborhood. Diamond Kilmer want to acknowledge the hard work of city staff on this project. This is a very technically complex site, and we have worked very closely with all divisions across the city to come up with a plan that I think benefits the city and us and fits nicely within the Birchcliff neighborhood. We'd especially like to thank Rod Hines and Christian Van Treska, who helped bring it all together. We also want to thank our partners on the project, Don Logie at Create-TO. Create-TO were the original owners of the land. Habitat for Humanity are working with us on this project to create 58 units of family housing, affordable family housing on the site. And Evergreen Foundation have been working with us and the Blantyre Public School on designs for the community park, and we're really excited about that aspect of the project. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with the Birchcliff community, and we are grateful to the staff and students at the Blantyre Public School who have helped us and the city imagine a new future for the public site park that's going on site. And I hope they will continue to be involved in the design of the park as it moves forward. And once again, I just wrap up by saying we are fully supportive of staff recommendations. We look forward to giving these long vacant lands a new life and making an addition to this thriving community. So thank you, Councillor Crawford, for your support, and thanks to Scarborough Community Council.
Thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputants? Okay, seeing none, thank you. That will bring us to our next deputant. Carly, if you don't mind calling them.
The next speaker listed is Melissa Walker.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. Melissa Walker, as Lori introduced me, I am Development Director with Kilmer and Lori's partner in the project. I really have nothing in addition to add. I just wanted to extend my own thank you again to staff through this process, through the community, and to Councillor Crawford. It's been a great pleasure working with the community and the city on this project. So thank you very much. And that's all I really had to add at this time.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Any questions of the deputant? Okay, that brings us to our next deputant. Carly, sorry if you don't mind calling them out. I think I'm almost connected here.
The next speaker listed is Adam Salakis. To the chair, I do not see Adam Salakis connected on the attendee list this morning, and we did not do a sound check.
Okay. So next is, I'm connected here. Arthur Ho Wong, Director in Council of Planning and Real Estate Development, Habitat for Humanity. Do we have Arthur?
We also do not have Arthur connected in the attendee list at the moment.
Okay. John Hartley, Lakeside Community Association.
To the chair, John Hartley is connected as an attendee, but we do not see his mic connected. I will attempt to troubleshoot with him in the chat.
Okay. East Beach Community Association while they're connecting.
Hello, am I online?
I can hear you. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Okay, yes. Hi, it's Alan Burke from the East Beach Community Association. Let you know, I've been involved with this file for the quarry lands probably close to 30 years. Myself and Rod Hines probably have the record for having been involved with this. And just for the point of full disclosure, there is a LPAT hearing coming up in February that deal with the fact we had appealed the Blantyre extension. So the EBCA is going to be a participant in that hearing in February. I think overall this is a good plan. I'm familiar with the reputation of Diamond Corp and Kilmar. And I think finally this project is going to go ahead, which we would like to see go ahead. I think this is more a general comment, not specific to this development, but we would still like to see a dedicated left turn lane for northbound traffic at the intersection of Victoria Park and Gerrard. Because this is people who live in the neighborhood like myself, we know from experience driving northbound, particularly in rush hour, there's always a backup and there's always, it encourages people to then want to turn right to head over to Blantyre. And one of the reasons the EBCA opposed the Blantyre extension, we were concerned, 2 reasons. 1, Blantyre Public School and traffic in front of that school, and 2, traffic migrating further to the south, because right now on the 4 north-south streets that are in the boundaries of the EBCA, those being Victoria Park, Blantyre, Courcelette, and Fallingbrook Road, we have close to 30,000 cars a day, most of that skewed in the afternoon rush hour. I think this park would be a nice addition to, parkland to the upper part of the neighborhood up around Gerrard. And I look forward to, further having discussions directly with Diamond and Kilmar on this project. And I know their reputation. And finally, I think we're going to have a project that will actually go ahead, because it's been a long time coming. And like I said, I've been involved with this thing for about 30 years. And those would be my comments. And I look forward also to seeing the affordable housing component, which I think is really important. And it's nice to see that we're going to have a significant affordable housing component being handled by Habitat for Humanity. And those would be my comments.
Okay. Thank you for your deputation. Any questions of the deputants? Seeing none, thank you. We'll go back. Carly, is the deputant John Hartley now connected?
To the chair, John Hartley is connected, and I do see a mic. He is unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Just want to check with IT if you're able to see John and connect him.
I do see John connected and they're unmuted. I will continue to try and chat with him in the chat.
Okay. Should we go ahead with Corey David?
Corey David is connected, Chair.
Okay. Hi, Corey. You have 5 minutes. Okay. We're still not, I'm not hearing anybody. So does IT know, should we just hold or should we try the next deputant?
To the chair, if we can try the next deputant. I do see Corey David and John Hartley both connected. I will attempt to contact them in the chat.
Okay. Okay. The next one then is Heidi Campbell.
Hello, can you hear me?
Here you go ahead.
Great. Okay, my name is Heidi Campbell. Thank you, Chair. I'm a senior program manager at Evergreen, national charity that helps cities be more livable. This year, Evergreen, in collaboration with Recreate Place and Trophic Design, worked with Blantyre Public School, grades 1, 2, grades 4, 5, and grade 8 students as part of a child-friendly park consultation. Working with Diamond Kilmer Developments in the City of Toronto, the students learned all about the different stakeholders they need to consider when they suggest new ideas for how to design this park and how to really think about what makes a park more inclusive and more accessible for everyone. So now I'd like to introduce you to the grade 8 students, Beatrix Webb and Ali O'Neill, and grade 5 student Sarah Hopkinson. They'd like to summarize the work the students did for this project. Beatrix will speak first, then Ali, and Sarah. So if we can go to Beatrix.
Hi, my name is Beatrix and I'm in grade 8 at Blantyre Public School. I will be speaking about this project in general and also what the grade 8s did. This year our class, as well as Ms. Schaefer's grade 4-5 class and Ms. Hummel's grade 1-2 class, were part of a child-friendly park consultation in partnership with Evergreen and Recreate Place. We worked closely with them to learn more about what child-friendly actually means and how to bring our ideas forward for this new park. Our teachers went through a series of workshops and then shared these activities with us. We learned all about the different stakeholders that needed to be considered when we suggested new ideas for the park. We spent a lot of time really thinking about how to make a park more inclusive and accessible for everyone. We also spent a lot of time analyzing other parks in the neighborhood and thinking about what works in them and what doesn't. This helped us think about what we thought would be important to include in a fantastic new park that also includes a lot of nature and natural features. All of the students really love nature and helping our environment and want to see the new park reflect that.
Thank you. Can we hear from Ali? Are you there?
Can you hear me? Is my mic working?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. It wasn't working before. My name is Ali and I'm also in grade 8 at Blantyre Public School. One of the projects we did was to create our own company that would design the park, and to do that we had to create a 3D model of the park. This really helped us think through what key elements would make them accessible. We made sure that the equipment in the parks was accessible to people with all kinds of mobilities. This was so important to us because not a lot of parks are accessible. We wanted everyone in our community to have fun there and not feel excluded. We also made sure our parks had things like washrooms, trash cans, benches, and other things that people might want to use. We also learned that a child-friendly project needs to encourage children to bring their ideas forward and for the adults to listen to their suggestions and take them into consideration. Thanks so much for listening to our suggestions. Over to you, Sarah.
Hello there, my name is Sarah and I'm in grade 5. I want to share some of the things that the students in my class and students in the grade 1-2 class feel is important to include in this park design. After going through a whole bunch of really interesting and fun activities, helping us think about the design for this park, I'd like to share some of the actual things that other students in my class and in the grade 1-2 class said what they feel and what they would love to feel in the future park. The grade 4-5 class said this. Imagine a park where you can hear the birds singing in the blowing trees, smell the amazing flowers and the food cooking from someone's backyard. Imagine a park where you can hear kids playing, feel the cool breeze against your skin, smell pine from the trees, and imagine a park where you can meet up and feel safe and smell the flowers and the trees. When people come to our park, I want them to feel excited, joyful, and safe. I see a playground with a swing, a gazebo, a pit, and path. I smell the flowers, I feel the grass, and I feel the sand. The grade 1-2 class said this. I want there to be trees with birds in them. I want there to be lots of homes for the foxes. I want there to be a little pond for all of the animals. There should be trees in the park because it can give us oxygen and it's also a good home for the animals. And I want lots of grown-ups, teens, and animals to come to the park. In conclusion, we wanted this park to be sustainable, have places for animals, be relaxing for people of all ages, safe for everyone, and accessible for the whole community. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you, Beatrix, Ali, Sarah. That was really great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you for joining today. That brings us, Carly, do we have any of the others reconnected?
I believe we are still working to get Mr. Hartley connected. I will let IT answer that question though. To the chair,
Okay.
I am unable to connect Mr. Hartley presently, but the other speakers, Corey David, has confirmed their mic works.
Okay, let's go ahead with Corey David, please. Hi, Corey, are you on the line? Okay, who do we have next while we're continuing to try to connect Corey?
To the chair, Tim Sullivan is on the speakers list and connected. I will unmute them.
Okay, hi, Tim.
To the chair, it seems Tim's mic is also not connected, but we have another speaker, Adam Salakis, who was not present when called earlier, but they're now connected.
Okay, Adam, can you unmute? Do we have you on the line?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Okay, thanks for joining us. You got 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. So I have a few concerns on this. I'm from north of the tracks in the Oakridge community, and my community is very much impacted by this, but unlike Birchcliff, we're a lot less involved in community affairs and a lot less aware of them. So I feel like there has not been nearly enough discussion or awareness in the Oakridge community about this project, and I would like more time to make people aware of this, and I would like more outreach from City Council in order to connect to this neighborhood. So again, Oakridge is the area between Victoria Park and Warden Avenue, directly north of where this is all happening. So we're very, very close, but we're very unaware. And I've been through the community very recently, and I know that a lot of people have no idea what's going on or what this plan is about. So I feel like these people need to be reached, and they need to be made aware so that they can have a say on this issue as well. Further to that, there's a lot going on here in terms of population increase. And I'm personally very concerned about the number of large buildings that are all planned to be put into this small area. So we already have a huge concentration of mid-rise and high-rise apartment buildings around or just north of Danforth, and there are scheduled to be at least 2 more based on notices I've received, 2 more very large buildings placed out around Victoria Park and Danforth. So we have tons of apartment buildings already in this area and a large concentration of low-income housing already in, again, just a few feet north of where all this is happening. So while this might seem like it's okay in Birchcliff, we are directly north, only a handful of meters north of where this is happening, are already really overflowing with low-income housing, with a lot more on the way. So I'm very concerned about that, and I feel like there are far too many apartment buildings being put into this small area, and risks creating a zone that is very much a low-income area, and that doesn't have the diversity that we would like to see. So there seems to be a large concentration of this happening in Scarborough, and particularly in our area. And personally, I'm very concerned about that, and I think many other people in the community would be as well if they were aware of it. And they're probably not, because there's a pandemic and it's very difficult to get this kind of communication out. One more quick issue, and that is that I feel like this also needs to be delayed, because right now, myself and many other people in the area of Oakridge are concerned with the way that Metrolinx has gone forward with expanding the railway tracks on the north side. So right now, this proposal is planned to be in the south side area along the tracks, where right now all the land is empty, and where, based on my very limited understanding of the plans going forward, there's plenty of space for the train tracks to be expanded on the south side for Metrolinx that would not impact the people who live there nearly as much. Now, on the north side, there are houses within 30 feet of where the planned tracks, within less than 30 feet of where the planned new tracks are happening. And on the south side, where this expansion is happening, the developers have been good enough to make plans about train derailment and leave space, and there's extra space there to add more trees and have a natural barrier. Whereas on the north side, where Metrolinx is planning to expand, there is no space for any of that. They would be using 100% of their land in order to build, in order to expand the train, which would then be almost directly over top of houses, and build a large wall, again, directly over top of houses. So we haven't had nearly enough opportunity to get the word out. Again, Oakridge, the community that I'm talking about, is very, very poor when it comes to this kind of involvement. And myself and other few members of the community have been trying to try and get the word out and try and get people to understand that they need to speak on these issues, or nobody does anything about it. We've begun to get a little bit of movement going on this, and we would like time as well to have City Council hear us on this, even though we know we are late. This is because, again, it's a pandemic and our area is really bad at this. But we need more time to do that, and we really want the Community Council to hear us on the potential of changing the way Metrolinx is planning to put the railway onto the south side where there's adequate space, and allowing people a chance to think about and talk about what's happening.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputants? Okay, seeing none. Carly, do we know who we have on the line next?
To the chair, Arthur Ho Wong is now connected by phone, and I can unmute them.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arthur Ho Wong. Yeah, good morning. Sorry for the trouble before. I'm speaking on behalf of my organization, Habitat for Humanity, Greater Toronto Area, where I'm Director in Council, Planning and Real Estate Development. I'd like to start by thanking Councillor Gary Crawford, City staff, Craig Chio, and our developer partner, Diamond Kilmer, for all your hard work regarding this development application. I'd also like to thank the Scarborough Community Council for the opportunity to speak at today's meeting about this project. As you know, Habitat GTA has partnered with a proponent to develop 58 affordable ownership units. These 58 affordable units will be in 2 3-story stacked townhouse blocks in Block 4 of the proposed development. Diamond Kilmer will convey Block 4 to Habitat, on which Habitat will build our affordable stacked townhouse project. Habitat GTA fully supports Diamond Kilmer's proposed mixed-use development at the site and the required OPA, ZBA, and draft plan of subdivision application. We believe the proposed development is excellent and we are grateful to be part of this project. For those of you who aren't familiar with Habitat GTA, I'd like to provide you with some brief background information about our organization. We are a nonprofit developer that provides affordable ownership housing for lower income families. At Habitat, we believe that everyone deserves a decent place to live. This is simple to say, but increasingly harder to achieve throughout the GTA and certainly here in the city of Toronto. The ongoing pandemic has made home ownership even more out of reach for many residents. In Toronto, the number of months required to save for a down payment on a home tripled in the past year to 277 months. That's more than 23 years. Habitat GTA's partnership with the proponent will provide our partner families with access to new affordable ownership units and transit-oriented development. This partnership also satisfies a long-standing city commitment to provide affordable housing units on the site. I'd like to conclude by saying Habitat GTA has been very fortunate to have done many successful projects with Diamond Kilmer and Creatio. These projects demonstrate how the city, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector can work together to deliver complete communities. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak at today's council meeting. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none. Carly, who else do we have on the line?
To the chair, I believe we have Mr. John Hartley now connected, and I will unmute him.
Thank you.
Am I on?
You have 5 minutes.
To the chair, Mr. John Hartley has just disconnected. He may need to call in again. It sounded like there was an echo from his multiple connections.
Okay. Do we have any other speakers on this item that are ready while we're waiting for that?
I believe he was the last speaker, Chair.
So I think we'll just give them a minute to connect. Yeah, Councillor Ainsley?
Oh.
Oh, I thought your hand up was high. Okay.
Sorry, Twitch.
Oh. Yes, hi.
Hi, sorry. Corey David is still on the line. I'm going to unmute the speaker.
Hi, Corey, can you hear us now? We can hear you. You have 5 minutes.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm Corey David. I'm a machinist in Scarborough. I live in the Birchcliff area, and I'd like to echo what Adam said. He was talking about the Oakridge community, but I would say also in the Birchcliff community there has not been consultation with the broad populace. There's been, it seems, targeted consultation with the school, with the various organizations that are involved in this development. I would say, by and large, that the community around the quarry is not aware of the exact plan that's going in there. I mean, I would say that some of that can be blamed on the pandemic and the situation, but I would say there also hasn't been a concerted effort to contact people and get them involved in the process. To go along with that, I mean, there's a lot of issues with this program that I have. I mean, there's been many speakers talking about wanting to keep the natural park space and keep habitats that are there. And this development will definitely destroy a lot of the natural habitats there. There's concerns about where all the rainwater is going to go when all this land is covered in concrete. I know part of the space will remain park space. Still, I mean, the community uses this space now, and homeless people live on this space now, and none of these developments are going to address the homeless issue. I mean, earlier I believe a councillor talked about certain agendas, and definitely people in the city have agendas. I mean, who is this development going to serve? It was mentioned that this area is low income, and Birchcliff is a higher income area, I believe, than the Oakridge area. But still, there's a lot of working class people here, and they need to have their housing needs considered when moving forward with projects like this. And this is not a simple buying a building that already exists. This is a naturalized parkland, and so it deserves, I think, a fair amount more attention and consideration when moving forward. Furthermore, talking about needs of the city, that in 2019 it was estimated that 65,000 units were vacant, or perhaps some of them were used by Airbnb, but they were not used by housing. So I don't think housing stock is exactly the issue here in the city. I think it's that we are not thinking about people's need to live. That we're listening to developers and what their needs are. I mean, we're looking at the profits of this company are going to be huge. Multiple times in the previous meeting about this, they talked about how it was a generous section of land, and it is a generous section of land. But I think it should remain, in control of the community, and that it shouldn't be privatized. I understand that it's already been sold, but the city council has the power to take that back and protect it for the community. Again, there's going to be 1,600 to 1,900 people that would be living in this area. The area is already heavily congested. I understand there are some infrastructure upgrades going into the rail line and the GO transit, but I think there's no road infrastructure being in place to accommodate these new people. And same thing with the subway system. I've been at Victoria Park during rush hour, the Victoria Park subway station, and it can be a real mess sometimes. So considering that 1,000 more people might be trying to use it in the mornings and evenings, I mean, there's without any new infrastructure, I think that's a recipe for a bad time. So that's what I have to say about this. I'm strongly against it. I've been also talking to people in the community, and it's been slow going. And I realize I'm late, but I think that there should have been more consultation going out to the general population of this area. I mean, who already use this space, on a day-to-day basis. Anyways, thank you again for having me to this council. Thanks.
Thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none, Carly, I just want to confirm that was our final speaker on this item.
To the chair, this is Kate here. I believe we have Mr. John Hartley reconnected now by phone, and we also have one more registered speaker that remains connected, Paula Gallo.
Okay,
I will
so let's
unmute Mr. Hartley first.
Thank you.
Am I audible?
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. This entire project has been problematic from the very beginning. It started with closing down a family business that had been in the community for many, many, many years. And that family business was destroyed. It was forced out of the property, and that land has lain vacant ever since. It's lain vacant for years. And it's just a very poignant example of the kind of planning and development that's gone into this property. It's sad. It's really quite sad. You've now come up with a plan that's really only half a plan. We've never received any of the financial justification or finances regarding this project. This is city land. It's not a private developer. It's not some carpetbagger. It's actually the city. This is your plan. This is our money. This is our land. And you've put up a plan that's really not even a plan, because you still don't know if we're going to have a school. We already know the inadequacies of the transportation system. Anybody who drives on Victoria Park or Danforth, we're more than well aware that this will only grievously aggravate the existing situation. If you blunder ahead with this so-called plan, you're just inviting more years of hearings at LPAT. You're inviting judicial review. You're inviting more delay. It's not good planning. It's not what we should want from our city representatives. I'm on record now. I've preserved my rights of appeal. Please give it some more thought. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none, I believe you said we have one more deputant on the line.
To the chair. Sorry, go ahead, Kate. To the chair, I was just going to say that the connected speaker said they're not going to speak today. So that concludes the speakers list.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, would anybody like to speak to this item?
Yeah, Councillor Crawford will speak. Thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Today before us, we have the final report from City Planning recommending the official plan amendment, zoning amendment, and subdivision application for 411 Victoria Park, 2510, 2530 Gerrard Street East, which we in the community refer to as the quarry lands. Discussion of this development has, in fact, predated myself as a councillor. I've been doing this for 11 years. In fact, when I got into council, this was a big, major issue in the community, and way before that. In fact, one of the former ideas or applications was to put a big box retail into this area that, of course, the community did not support, and before you, we do not have that. I do want to thank David Diamond Kilmer. I want to thank all the planning staff, and in particular Rod Hines, for the work that he has done over the years. Again, predating me, as one of the deputants mentioned, he has been around this file for a long, long time, and the community. I do have to say that, and I recognize the deputations and the concerns from some of the deputants on there has not been consultation. I can tell you in my tenure, this has been the most consulted property land that I've been involved in as a city councilor. There have been, I wouldn't say dozens, but in and around that over the years, even before the pandemic. With Diamond Kilmer, they have led a very strong team for consultation. Again, pre-pandemic with people. We have included the north part of the ward in Oakridge, and again, with respect to the deputant, that was ensuring that the Oakridge area was included. I've been involved in a number of the consultations with them. Regardless, I recognize the residents' concerns. I'm going to be working with the community, along with Metrolinx, on the expansion. That is a large issue that is impacting that community. But and I just wanted to let the deputy know I'll be working with him and the community on that particular issue. But when we're looking at this development, it is a mixed-use community. It has vital, affordable housing. We heard from Habitat for Humanity. There are different built forms there. There is green space. There is a 7-acre park, and I'll talk about the students from Blantyre Public School who talked about that. And it is close to major transit. And a potential new school is in the works. Again, that's going to be dependent probably on funding from the government, but there's a way to be able to put the park in there and or put the new school in there, and it'll be good. This is about good development. One of the long-standing community developments that have been involved in this has been the CCQLD, which is the Concerned Citizens for the Quarry Land Development. Again, predating myself, but this group of concerned citizens have always stated they were supportive of development, but good development. And I do know, even though that this organization, it doesn't exist in the same form it did years ago. Numerous individuals from that organization I've talked to are supportive of this application, and in fact, the vast majority of the community is supportive, recognizing, it will change. But what I do want to share is, part of the consultation activities really involved the teachers and the students of Blantyre Park. And I want to thank Mr. Ian McLeish, the teacher, and all the students, along with Evergreen, who really participated in this child-friendly park consultation. And when you want to talk about consultation, as I said, this has been the most heavily consulted application I've seen, and we reached everyone, even the kids. When you're looking at, trying to retain the trees, the birds, the animals, the nature, we will actually be doing that with regard to this park. And I think when we've been working with Evergreen, Diamond Kilmer have been excellent at working and trying to retain the natural beauty and feel of the green space there, recognizing a development will be going in. But again, I want to thank all of the students from Blantyre Public School for participating in this, and in the entire community. Any development can be a challenge. Any development and change in a community can be concerning, which it should be. But we do need to be able to reach out, consult the appropriate community members, and really try to come to a consensus. Recognizing there's always going to be challenges, but from my perspective, in the years I've been working on this, this has been a development where we work to try to get consensus. And by and large, I think the community recognizes that there have been many changes over the years and do support this development. So again, I want to thank everybody who's been involved, and I'll be on behalf of the community moving these recommendations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crawford. Anyone else to speak to this item? Okay, we can vote on the recommendations. All those in favor? That item carries. That brings us to SC 25.2, final report 2740 Lawrence Avenue East zoning amendment, subdivision Ward 21. This is Deputy Mayor Thompson's ward. We have two speakers. Do we have them on the line? The first would be Billy Tung.
Oh. Hello.
Hi, Billy. You have 5 minutes.
Hi. Sorry. Just my bearing here. I was on the phone. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of Council. My name is Billy Tung with KLM Planning Partners. I am the planning consultant for the applicant. So with me is also Krishna and Nana. We were both signed on just to monitor the meeting. We had no intention to actually speak to the item, so we don't have any concerns with the staff report or anything of that sort. We do want to take this opportunity, however, to thank the hard work that city staff has put into this project, and and the work that we've been doing with the community and with the councillor's office, and we look forward to bringing this project to fruition.
Okay, thank you. And just confirming, Christian Lamana is online, and likewise just was available for questions.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, so we're here and available for any questions that there may be. And again, we would like to thank city staff for everything that we've worked together on over the last couple of years, as well as the local councillor and the resident association.
Okay, great. Any questions for this deputant? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Through you to Christian and Billy. Can you give us an indication as to the types of consultation that took place with respect to your project on the at 2740 Lawrence?
Absolutely. We had a community information meeting that was scheduled before the first development application was submitted. And I know that at that time, there was some opposition to the initial draft plan that was being proposed, which was a predominantly all townhouse development. And after working with the local councillor's office as well as the community association, we came to a compromise to actually incorporate a large component of single detached homes to provide a proper transition to the existing community. And the resident association was very pleased with the compromise that was provided by Madison Group.
So it's your view at this time that there's overwhelming support for the development, which was where the old David and Mary Thompson School was. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, okay, great. Can you tell me, please, we talked some time ago about doing something to honor the site itself and honor the the fact that this is where the David and Mary Thompson High School was, and so many amazing people and students and teachers and others who have obviously grown fondly of this site and so on. So we talked about doing something more commemorative and so on. Is that still part of the planning process?
Absolutely, Mr. prompted. We're hoping that as a part of the detailed engineering and landscape design for the development, that we're able to incorporate some type of commemorative piece that will actually be added to the community park at some point in the near future. So that's what we're hoping to do, and we will obviously consult with your office to come up with something that I think ourselves and the community will benefit from.
Great. Thank you very much. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions for the deputant? Okay, I think that concludes our deputations. Any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Anyone to speak to the item? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Question of staff. Sorry,
I don't know where you are, but there's chocolate cupcakes.
Can I have some?
Oh,
chocolate
I'm so
cupcakes? It's okay. I like chocolate cupcakes. I'm good with that. And I have not had breakfast, so you're making me hungry. A little bit of levity, Madam Chair, at the Community Council. I think that's great. So just a quick question of staff, Madam Chair. Okay. Through you to staff, planning staff, this process with respect to 2740, how would you describe it in terms of the interaction with the community and the feedback that you've had with the community and the applicant?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to pass the question over to Rod Hines, who's the senior planner on the project.
Yes, thank you, Madam, through you, Madam Chair, to the members of the committee. Good morning. In terms of the level of communication and consultation we had with the community, I would suggest that this application was rather typical of a very positive process of some initial community resistance to the proposal, ongoing discussions and consultation through the review of the application. Certainly, I received various inquiries and whatnot, and was, I think, fortunately able to put those folks' minds at ease about certain questions they had. I think it was a bit atypical in a sense, and not dissimilar to the previous Diamond Kilmer application of 411 Victoria Park, in that both applicants in both cases reached out pre-application and went to the community for very early initial consultations with the community. We don't always see that. I call it atypical, but it was a very, I think, positive outcome in both cases, that the community was engaged very early and we had very positive results. Our community consultation meeting, as directed through the preliminary report, did not generate anything great numbers of concern or questions asked during that process. Unfortunately, that meeting was delayed significantly by the COVID emergency last March, but it was overall, I think, a very positive process.
Thank you. Those are all my questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Any additional questions of staff? Speakers on this item? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to just thank everyone. First of all, I want to thank the community, as Mr. Hines and Mr. Lamanna has indicated, that there was opposition to this application initially, and the applicant worked with my office and with the community well in advance of the submission of their application to address the community's concerns. This site is the site of the old David and Mary Thompson High School, which, as we know, David and Mary Thompsons are the, I guess, some of the sort of settlers in the communities who came and settled in, and of course, with the indigenous population that obviously were here before any of the settlers moved in. And they basically utilize a portion of what was their big farm as this particular school. And so this school has had a tremendous, of course, as an institution, tremendous impact as a community asset. Madam Chair, sorry, there's some construction that's going on in the building that I'm in, so if you can hear the noise, my apologies and so on. If you can't hear it, that's great. I can hear it loudly, regrettably. But nonetheless, many people are very fond of this location. And so when the applicant came in to develop the site, of course, the school was put up for sale. We work with the school. We were able to, as a city, acquire 1 acre of land. And the school also contributed 1 acre of land to us, of the city. We have facilities there for a daycare and so on. So this is really, a development that is going to fit nicely into the city's plan and so on. So David and Mary Thompson is such an institution. And so the care that the applicant has given to this development has just been extraordinary. So I want to thank them for that as well. Thank the community. And finally, and of course, Mr. Hines. I mean, Mr. Hines has such a reputation. I think I've been working with Rod Hines now for well before I was even elected to office, and he continues to be just phenomenal in terms of his ability, his expertise, his creativity, and so on. We saw this through this application process. So I want to thank him for just his extremely diligent nature and just his professionalism. And then finally, I want to thank Ihor Wands from my office, who has been very active with this particular application of the extraordinary work that's been done. So I look forward to the recognition of David Mary Thompson working with the applicant moving forward, and I wish them luck with respect to this development. Looking forward to the amazing families who are going to come in and live in our community. Those are all my comments this morning, Madam Speaker, and I would like to simply move the recommendations in the staff report.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any additional speakers? Seeing none, we'll vote on staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Thank you. That brings us, we have timed items, so we will move forward in the agenda a bit to, the next time item, which is SC 25.27, application for fence exemption 28 Ilfracombe Crescent. We have deputants on this. Can I just ask city staff? Oh, here we go. Our first deputant is Sandra Abdelkarim. Do we have Sandra on the line?
Yes, you do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Deputy Mayor, and members of Council. Before I speak on the matter that brings us here today, I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson for the guidance and support that you and your office have provided my husband and I to navigate the city's processes for applying for the requested fence exemption, in addition to the great work that you all do for our great city of Toronto. We are here today to ask for your support for our fence exemption application for our home at 28 Ilfracombe Crescent. The proposed new fence is 8 feet in height and will be a board-on-board style with no lattice on the inside of our property line. Our residential street does not have a sidewalk, and the proposed fence does not block the line of sight. You may be asking, why are we requesting the exemption? To tell you that the situation at our house is tense is an understatement. We have a very significant dispute with our neighbors at 26 Ilfracombe that has disrupted the lives of our families and our guests. The house at 26 Ilfracombe is the house that last summer gained some measure of notoriety because of the pirate ship structure that was built in the backyard. Since enforcement steps were taken by the city, our relationship with our neighbors has deteriorated, fueled to a large extent by the fact that we seem to get blamed for the enforcement actions that have taken by the city. The existing property line fence is over 20 years old. It was built by the former homeowner of our house, 28 Ilfracombe, and the family that currently lives at 26 Ilfracombe, with whom we have the dispute. The fence was constructed by agreement of both households. After the pirate ship debacle and the dispute that arose from it, we had a survey of our property completed with a view of installing a new fence. We learned that the existing fence is exactly on the property line, veering off the line by small margins. This new information had the effect of escalating an already tense situation. Our neighbors have threatened to tear the fence down even though we have a pool in our backyard. We are seeking the exemption to permit the installation of an 8-foot fence for privacy and security purposes. The additional barrier will be a new fence with a strong foundation that will help shield us from the unfortunate dispute that has arisen with our neighbors. It will be built inside the boundary of our property. We recognize you can't force people to change their behavior. However, a fence is a security feature that'll give our family peace of mind and will be a barrier from all the constant swearing and cussing and ongoing displays of microaggressions towards our family. It will also reduce our child's exposure to this type of unwarranted behavior. We have the support of 3 of the 4 neighbors immediately impacted by this new fence. 2 of our neighbors have provided letters of support. 1 has provided verbal confirmation of support. We also have the support of 5 homeowners on our street, including 2 neighbors facing our house and 3 to the east of our home. While the people at 26 Ilfracombe Crescent complain of sight and views, we do not agree that the new fence will obstruct any of their views more than already occurs with the current condition. It is our strong belief that a fence that runs down the length of our property is appropriate in these specific circumstances. Our guests have not been spared from attempts at intimidation either. They are often spoken to, yelled, and sworn at while in our backyard. There are a number of fence exemptions that have been approved by Scarborough Community Council that exceed 2.4 meters or higher through this year and in previous years. There are also many examples where 8-foot-plus fences and hedges exist in our immediate Ward 21 area, and there are already 3 on our street, including by some who appear to have sent in notifications to the city clerk just yesterday on this matter. Furthermore, there are several examples of 8-foot-plus fences and hedges between houses on our street that run down the side of homes and front yard areas. Accordingly, this fence exemption application does not create a new precedent. We appreciate your support for our fence exemption application today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thompson, questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the speaker. So this 8-foot fence that you're proposing to construct, will it solve the problem that exists currently between yourself and your neighbors?
No, our expectation is not that the fence will at all solve the challenge, but it will give us a barrier and the opportunity for that peace of mind and reduce how often we are subjected to that unwarranted behavior.
I see. The police has been involved with respect to the interaction between yourself and your neighbor. Can you tell us what that has been about and why the police have been involved?
Absolutely. So you're correct. The police have been involved since last July. We were approached by one of the community officers probably into late August last summer, and she had contacted us because she was looking for more context about a situation the people at 26 Ilfracombe had denoted, and we provided her the context, and then she proceeded to ask us about a couple of other things that she had noted, and we explained, and she felt that that was satisfactory, and then we left it at that. She indicated that she would file a report for us because we had actually contacted Toronto Police earlier in August to create a file, and they had advised us just keep video recordings, keep a log of events, which we were doing, and then when something escalated further, they would then file a complaint. So we had all of that in place, mentioned it to Officer Littlewood, and she indicated that she would file the report on our behalf, and subsequently that's what was done. We had an altercation in late September. We had a guest over, and as they were leaving our home to go to their home, they were intercepted, and a yelling and screaming match continued. That evening it escalated, and I called the police because I was fearing that it would become more dangerous than just the yelling and shouting. So they were called at that time. And then another occurrence was when we had completed the property line and discovered that the property line actually was not accurate. The driveways were paved not to property line, and I guess to many surprise, we understood that it was veering onto the neighbor's property. And at the same time, we talked to the police about putting up an 8-foot fence. Officer Littlewood thought that that would be a good idea, and that prompted my call to your office. to start that process. The police have had a running record as there have been instances of harassment and actions that are not enough to warrant an arrest, but certainly enough to keep track of. And so we've kept in touch with the police as events occur and have continued to maintain a log of events and footage photos from the different events. I'm not sure if that answers your question or if you'd like a little bit more.
Thank you. That's very helpful. No, that's fine. And I've met with you and your husband and had some conversations. Mediation is mediation. Have you tried mediation? Is mediation a potential solution to try to resolve the issue with your neighbor?
So Officer Littlewood had recommended mediation early on, and our initial position was no. But as months passed on and this behavior continued, there was an incident where my husband had said, "Come out, let's just talk this out," and they retreated and didn't come out, and we left it at that. So the understanding is that there's no interest in pursuing mediation, and to be honest, we don't believe in mediation is going to solve this, but I think it'll just bring both sides some peace. But we still do want to go ahead with the 8-foot fence.
So you think the fence will provide some level of comfort as well as some level of safety and security? Is that part of the rationale for the fence?
Absolutely. It will provide us with privacy and security. It will enable us to not worry about our son playing basketball outside and or shooting the hockey puck and having it go on the neighbor's side. We had an incident just this week where my son came out of the car, lost his balance, stepped on the grass, and you could hear shouting and banging on the window. And of course, our son is a young boy, and that startled him. And so that fence also will give us an opportunity to enjoy our outside space more.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Our next deputant is on the line, I believe. So let me just pull this up. So Amelia Lambos.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. My name is Amelia Lambos. I live on the street, and honestly, I'm totally against this whole fence thing. This whole thing between the neighbors and everything. Like my kids have grown up on the street. We've been here for 10 years. We've played with both the kids that are on 26 and the other child that's on 28. This whole thing has escalated too much from whatever's happened from last year, all of a sudden. And I think honestly, putting a fence and isolating everybody, putting a fence in, it would be such an eyesore. I think it's going to bring our property value down. It'll look hideous that all these years, having a big fence around and everything, and nobody else has a big fence and isolating in and stuff like that. I think it would cage us in. And honestly, I just don't agree with it. It's just gone way out of control. My kids are afraid to go there and play. What if they run over and they cross over 28? What if they talk too loud? What if bubbles go over? Our kids don't even want to go over there unless they're quiet, whatever, just in case something might happen. So I think honestly, it's escalated way too much. It's blown out of proportion. Even now recently, if I see people, the owners of 28, they don't even talk to me. And I'm not even involved. So that's all I got to say is that I'm totally against it, and I think it's blown way out of proportion.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Questions, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, and thank you very much for your comments, ma'am. Where do you live?
I'm at 40, literally 8 houses down the street, down on our crescent.
40, okay. And you've indicated that the fence is not a solution. Can you give us an indication what would potentially be some solutions to resolve the conflict between the neighbors?
Honestly, I think maybe mediation or something, but I think the two houses have had friendships, long-standing friendships for over 10 years. I remember the kids are going back and forth to both kids, all 3 boys having birthday parties together, outside playing and stuff like that. And all of a sudden from last year, a small little dispute, I think, I don't know if I should get into it, whatever. If something happened between the kids, I think the kids need to resolve it. Adults starting it and getting involved in and escalating it. Like, I understand they had issues with the boat and then they tried to work with it and stuff like that, which is fine and stuff. But to carry on something that either the children said themselves should be dealt with the children. When adults get involved and they're acting like big bullies that, I'm going to call the city countless times on things of, do you have grass? Are you doing this? Or you have debris on the grass and stuff like that, whatever. To me, it's like tit for tat. It doesn't look good on our crescent. Like, I'm embarrassed to say that, my neighbors are squabbling over something so petty. And people that come over, they're like, okay, watch out what you say, where you go, it's creating a lot of tension, and everyone's running around, whatever, and not being able, the kids are wondering, am I allowed to bike ride by there? Can I, if I run over here, what's going to happen? It's escalated so far. And like, I mean, how many times do you need to call 311 on small little things, or the cops or the fire department? Like, I think everyone is old enough that they can actually talk to each other and get their point across and solve this. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. So thank you for that. You referenced the idea around mediation. I have proposed mediation to both parties. Neither are interested in mediation. What other types of solutions do you think potentially we could try?
I don't know. I know that, honestly, it's hard knowing that you're going to walk by one neighbor and one neighbor is not talking to you. And then you can talk to the other person. And then it's like, it's not right. It's not nice. Like, I mean, I bought a house to have neighbors so I can talk to and see on a regular basis. If I didn't want to talk to anybody, I would have bought an apartment and stayed in an apartment building. But these two guys, both homeowners, need to resolve this for the sake of the neighborhood, for the sake of the children, and all the other kids that are on our street. It's creating like the tension of, can we play basketball on the street? What if the ball runs over, whatever? Do you need to call 311 or the cops on tension like this? Like, we're not little kids. Like, I worked in daycare for over 25 years of my life. You have a problem, you talk about it, you solve it, whatever, and then move forward. We're dwelling on something that happened a year ago, but yet 10 years prior, both neighbors were amazingly fine. And all of a sudden we're acting, childish. Let's resolve this and move forward.
So can you help me to understand, because I still don't understand what was the contributing cause to create the condition in terms of where we are today. And so I'm just wondering, because you seem to be a fair, independent party to this as a neighbor, wonder if you could tell us at Community Council as to what transpired to cause the deterioration, if you will, with respect to the relationship of both the neighbors.
With all due respect, Mayor Thompson, I think I know the root of the issue, but as the homeowner of 28 had pointed out her half of the story, I think the homeowner on 26 should be able to say what the root of the issue was as well. And both of them should be able to agree what that root it was, that key issue that sparked this between that issue and leading up to the fact that it started up with a pirate boat. So I've been friends with both homeowners from 10 years plus that I've been here, and our kids have grown up together. Like my kids are 9 and 7. I have nothing to hide. They're 9 and 7. They play with the two boys they were playing with the 2 on 26 and the other child on 28 who's currently 10 now. So it all sparked with something childish, and I think if they can point it out, whatever, I know what it is, and I think it's just let it go. Let it go. Let it get resolved. We are adults. We don't need this kind of tension on our street.
Sounds like we should hire you as the mediator.
I'll come with you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I may take you up on that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for enlightening us and helping us. Madam Chair, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Raymond Eng. Do we have Raymond on the line?
To the chair, I do not see Raymond Eng connected.
Okay, we'll try Michelle Pernaccia.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson and Community Council very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Michelle Cornacchia. I'm the owner at 32 Ilfracombe Crescent. My husband's family have been in this neighborhood for over 50 years. In all my years in the neighborhood, I've never seen the atmosphere as tense as it has been over the last year. On many occasions, my husband Jack and I have observed and heard yelling and name-calling by the people who live at 26 Ilfracombe towards our neighbor at 28 Ilfracombe. Both Jack and I feel strongly that the 8-foot fence is needed for our neighbors at 28 Ilfracombe to feel safe and regain a peaceful living environment. I'd also like to comment that my son, who's 9, and the neighbor's son at 28 Ilfracombe have a great relationship. They play both in the backyard and in the front yard, and have been friends and playmates since we rebuilt the home at 32 Ilfracombe. I'd also like to mention that my neighbor and I on the east side have an 8-foot fence which actually goes down the driveway already. And this was approved by the Committee of Adjustments when I put my application in to have my home rebuilt. If the fence exemption is granted, I believe the neighborhood will start to return to a calmer surrounding and there will be less tension. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Michelle. Questions to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your presentation. So I just want to confirm, you have currently on your property an 8-foot fence, is that correct?
Yes, and the reason why we chose 8 foot is also because of the issue that both myself and the folks at 28 Ilfracombe both deal with, which is that we have in-ground pools. So it's not just, a privacy thing. It is really for the safety of the neighbors in having this proper enclosure for our pool. On many occasions, if I may add, given the opportunity, is that I have noted on my second floor platform, because I do have a 2-story home, that the kids have actually climbed the pirate ship and have actually been over the top of the height of the current fence that's there now, which is why I am in great support of having an 8-foot fence built, because really you can't do enough for children's safety. I mean, especially where the pool over at 28 Ilfracombe is actually quite close to the fence itself. So my worry when I would see this on numerous occasions, the kids playing, on the top of the flagship of the pirate ship, is that they would accidentally fall over and smash their head on the concrete or fall into the pool. So I feel strongly about having this fence put up at this height.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier, and I can hear in your voice that, of course, there's a tension, and I can feel the tension in the community there. I'm just wondering if you have any additional ideas in terms of how we go forward. So, for example, if a fence exemption were to be granted, what are your thoughts in terms of whether or not we would be able to, as a community, work through some of the challenges between the neighbors at 26 and 28, since you know both of them well, obviously?
Well, my husband, I would say, I'd like to comment that my husband knows the folks over at 26 a lot better than I do, only because I find that I'm more of a private person. My husband's aunt lived in the home, like I said, for the 50 years since the homes were built in this neighborhood. And so when my husband would come around the neighborhood, he would speak to the neighbors over at 26. However, he has always said, though, for a long stemming period, that sort of the attitude, as new people would join the neighborhood, there was always a sense of, I really don't want to use the word, but it was almost like a discriminatory attitude of who moved into the neighborhood. And honestly, I don't think that the focus should be on how can this dispute be lessened rather than what can we do, and we focus on the fence, that the 8-foot fence is needed because of the pool enclosure, and as well to provide and to lessen the tension of when they want to enjoy their front yard, which they can't do at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. There are no more questions from me, please.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. That brings us to our next speaker, Vasilia Pahis.
To the chair, I do not see that name connected in the attendee list.
Okay, Stavros Pahis.
To the chair, I also do not see that name connected in the attendee list.
Vula Konstantinidis. Hope I got that right.
To the chair, that speaker is connected. I've unmuted their mic.
Thank you, Vula, for your presentation, and my apologies if I didn't pronounce your last name right. Maybe you can correct me on that.
No, you pronounced it perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for having me and giving me the 5 minutes so I can say that side of our story. So in regards to our 28 Ilfracombe neighbor and her side of the story, the whole situation started back when my 10-year-old was 7, and my 7-year-old told the next door neighbor's 8-year-old son, "I hate you," while they were playing in our backyard. And from then on, things just hit the fan. My mother got involved and just told the two children, if you guys can't get along together, you are not allowed to play together until you figure out to be, nice to each other and you play. From that day on, the next door neighbors cut us off. They stopped talking to us, wouldn't wave to us, wouldn't look at us. Came Christmas time, that was in the spring, came Christmas time. We never stopped treating them the way we have 12 years. Everything, we're there for them as neighbors, as friends. And we were curious for ourselves as to why they stopped talking to us. And then I told my mother, I said, oh my God, it's over the kids. That was it. We never talked to them after that either. And then came the summertime, pandemic, 2020 of July. My husband decided, my mother-in-law is diabetic. My father-in-law is 75. We can't go anywhere. Locked on, down the house. My husband decided to build that pirate ship pool. That pirate ship pool is only 4 feet high. The fence is 6, and a 28 Ilfracombe dirt deck is about 4.5 to 5 feet high. So my husband decided to build the pirate ship pool for the children to pass the summer. Prior to us constructing the pirate ship, I did call the city, and they told me if the structure is less than 10 by 10, you don't need a permit. In all fairness, my husband kind of lost track of measurements, and the boat became longer, but not higher than 10 by 10. And it took him 8 weeks to build it. My neighbor waited till the very last day, and when my husband completed the project, he went ahead and called the city on us. When my husband confronted him in the backyard, my neighbor turns around and says, I didn't call, Rogers did. First of all, let's just assume that was the case. As a neighbor, a 12-year relationship, why did you not stop Rogers from calling on your neighbor? First of all. Second of all, we know it was him who called, which was fine. That's his prerogative. My husband told him, if you are uncomfortable with a pirate ship, because you have a pool, I will build an 8-foot fence. He turns around and said, absolutely not. I am not comfortable. I don't want that because it will devalue the property, the value of my property. Okay, that was left at that. From that day on, as God as my witness, they have made our life a living hell. There've been cameras recording our property constantly, 24/7. There is a microphone under the front yard awning. They got a Greek lady to come and translate. I know that for a fact. She was confronted by the police. She admitted it. There have been, like I said, cameras recording our backyard. My nieces, my children, my neighbors' kids that come over, 3/4 of my backyard. The police had told them to please minimize your cameras only into your property. My neighbor, the male neighbor at 28, has been sending me inappropriate messages. I don't want to say what, but the police is aware. They got a caution from the police that they are not allowed to text me nothing. They have threatened me. The mail has threatened us. I can see this getting really nasty. We have been called, excuse my language, effing Greeks. We have been threatened. Like I said, I can see this getting really nasty. My son threw gum. My 6-year-old last year, my 7-year-old threw gum, and the neighbor picked up the gum in front of me, my son, and my father and my mother, and said, "This is the last effing warning. I know you're upset because of the boat, but this is my last effing warning." Okay. The situation that my neighbor just mentioned to you about her son stepping on the property, my husband at that time, and I would love her to interrupt me if I'm wrong. My husband at that time was cleaning the bath water for the birds, and my mom knocked on the window to make a sign to him to say something to him. It had nothing to do with my neighbor. And if that's the case, they purposely do things to instigate an argument 24/7. As far as the fence and the surveys go, they did a survey first because they thought we were encroaching. I would like to know why they did the survey, because if we were encroaching, they would want their property back. So then we went ahead and did our own survey, and long and behold, they're encroaching 6 inches in the front, 3 inches in the back. The fence is completely ours. We have been here for 23 years. We did not make any agreement with that specific neighbor for any fence. We bought the house as is, as same as they did. They called the police on my 8-year-old 2 weeks ago because he threw a pebble on our fence. And then they went to the lawyer, and the lawyer sent a letter that my 8-year-old assaulted a 50-year-old man. And
we need your final thoughts. You're at 5 minutes just to get
my final thoughts is it is an ongoing situation. It is an ongoing, but my side of the story is they never wanted to mediate. Now, once did they come and say to us, "Can we talk?" That is a pure lie. Okay, and it's not
Deputy Mayor Thompson has questions for you.
No problem.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Gula. So you indicated that that's the last comment you just made about mediation. Are you and your husband interested in mediation?
At this point, we are not. We don't trust them. Even whether we mediate or put a fence up, they will not stop. And I'll be honest with you, the male in that household has called the city on us nine consecutive times over everything we have. We changed the window. They've called the city. They've called the city on our one shed. Meanwhile, they have 3 sheds. They've called the city on our tent where we use for storing our gardening tools. They called that a carport.
So,
every time the
can
city
I just ask you?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, as a mother,
yes,
and as a valued member of the community, how do you explain the situation to your child?
Yes, I have. Because my neighbor made my 10-year-old sick. And when I told him, "You made my 10-year-old sick," you know what he said to me? "Yeah, so prove it." From the anxiety. As a mother, I don't appreciate a father looking at my child and mocking him while they're draining his pool, his toy pool. As a mother, I will do anything to support my children and protect them. Sure. And this gentleman next door, not the lady, she's a lot more respectful, and I'll say that. But the man has made our life a living hell. I don't even think she knows half the stuff her husband has done.
Thank you. So at one point, you indicated as part of your comments that your husband had indicated that he wanted to put up an 8-foot fence. And obviously, that would assume that would minimize some of the challenges that you're having with your neighbors. Would that be correct? Had you been able to put up an 8-foot fence, would that provide some degree of comfort for you?
That was last year. When
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. But I just wanted to understand whether or not it would have provided some comfort for you, reduce some of the conflicts that you're having with your neighbor.
It would have reduced the conflict as far as the comfort for the pirate ship is not there. We moved that. The pirate ship, we got clearance from the city, right? So we've moved that out, and it's up still on the other side. Got you. As far as the reason why we suggested an 8-foot fence last summer is because Mr. McGar was not comfortable because he has a pool, and I completely understand that. So that's why. But then,
fair enough.
He said no.
But let me just. I only have 5 minutes, and I just want to ask you this. So there are no opportunity for you and your husband to support a direction with respect to some type of mediation between yourself and your neighbors who you used to be very close with? There's no opportunity for mediation.
Listen, like I said, we're at the point, they have done so much to us that we're at the point as a family that we do not trust that they will stop the no matter, you can put a 10-foot fence, they will not stop the constant city calling or any other issues. It's not the fence is not the problem. He needs to stop himself.
Okay.
It's not the
all right. Sorry, go ahead. I'll just let you finish your point.
He needs to stop. Listen, when he tells the police, "Who are you to question me?" That's a person you cannot trust. Okay. When I tell him you gave Michael anxiety over a little boat, he said to me, "Yeah, so prove it." That's not somebody I can trust.
Okay, fair enough. I have no further questions, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Vula.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vula. Our next speaker is John Constantinitis. You have John on the line.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
5 minutes. We can hear you. You have 5 minutes.
I just would like to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to meet my wife to make our points. It's been a long and hard 1 year dealing with that. As long as the actual matter on it, that is the 8-foot fence. We did talk with my wife, and we don't see a reason why. It wasn't a safety issue all those years. So I don't see it happening like that. Also, I can relate to some houses have 8-foot fences, but also those houses, they are 2-story. And maybe an 8-foot fence is needed on the higher houses, but we do live in a bungalows, which the ceilings are 8 to 9 feet. If that goes up, then the only thing I'm going to see from my backyard and my kids especially, fence and roofs. I don't like the idea. Also, 8-foot fence is going to be stopping any kind of relationship with your neighbors. This is a very important part for us. We're getting along with everybody and would like to continue, and with the ones that we don't, definitely we want to work things out and try to make it better in any way. This harm is more important that is the harm that's been done to the kids mostly is a lot more higher than what the adults, we can tolerate and we can deal with things in life. But life, it doesn't always brings things the way we want to. So thank you for your consideration of not allowing the 8-foot fence. And we hope for the best.
Thank you. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John, for your presentation. John, you just stated that the relationship with your neighbor, you spoke a little bit about that, and that it seemed to me as part of what you were saying is that there would be an opportunity for further dialogue to try to resolve this issue. Is that your position, that there's an opportunity to engage in dialogue with your neighbor to resolve this issue, or do you feel that there's no way that you can resolve this issue?
As my wife mentioned, the history is so dark that at this present moment, as I said, and as you said, this will be a very hard, and it's not going to be, as a parent, I cannot support it. Usually you have talks with some, let's say on a war, that both sides hurt each other. When they have called the city on us numerous times, and we have never done, and you yourself have been at the back, and you know the bylaws and everything else, and there's reasons, tons of reasons I can call the city on them.
Toronto Planning, Rod Hines.
So, long story short, we don't have two sides hurting each other. We have them hurting us. And this is my problem here. So, you, as a parent, what would you do if your family had to go through what mine goes at all this time? Actually, I don't want you to answer that. Like, definitely, you will have to act your way. But let me tell you what some of my friends, they would do. Some of my friends, they will jump over the fence, put him in a cage, and drown him on his own pool, like he did a raccoon he got a year ago And he did that. He got the raccoon with the cage and drowned it on his own pool. And this guy, he's a professional chiropractor, putting his hands on people, looking and laughing at my kids while their pool, their toy is empty. This family.
So, John, can I just ask a question, John? What did you do when apparently your neighbor, as you've alleged, drowned this raccoon? What did you do about it?
Nothing. We were shocked. That's about it.
Sorry?
We were shocked. Just look at him.
Okay. You didn't call the police? You didn't call animal control? You didn't call anybody? No.
The same way I didn't call for his illegal deck that had no permit, his extension of the house that he had no permit, his pool that he had no permit, because simple enough, is your neighbor. Work with your neighbor. Talk with your neighbor. Not a big deal. And all of a sudden, 3 months ago, he has all the permits. You have the right to find out what's happening. Police reports are available to you guys. Who's calling the city is available in you guys. I've been dealing with this for a year. Believe me, I have become an expert. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Madam Chair, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our last deputant on this item, Rarvo Yukivi.
Good morning, Chair, Deputy Mayor, and members of Scarborough Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the owners at 28 Ilfracombe. Underlying this request is an unfortunate dispute that has become all too common in my practice as a land development lawyer. I know there is no silver bullet that I can offer to you here today. As you heard from Sandra when she spoke, underlying this dispute is not a fence, but rather a simmering and festering incident that predates the most recent dispute over this fence. We are here to ask for help from the city to help change the channel. We want to change the channel with a request for the fence exemption. The fence is designed to change that channel and turn a fresh page. The statements and innuendos you've heard about attacks on children by my clients are completely out of place, false, and slanderous. The allegation about the raccoon is out of thin air and completely made up. My client would never do such a thing, and I ask you to take that under serious consideration, because those types of things are the kinds of comments that continue this kind of dispute when people are attacked groundlessly. There is currently on the property a 20-year-old fence. The fence stands as a proxy for this dispute now. After the dispute began over the infamous pirate ship, it was clear to our clients there was not going to be a resolution. They started to investigate installing a taller fence to increase privacy and provide better security. They diligently prepared a survey and found out that the fence that was built, one that was built by agreement installed by neighbors and stood there for 20 years, veers a little bit off the property line towards the owners of 26. That immediately created an issue that has created an even greater dispute here. Our clients proposed to fix that as part of the new construction. In doing so, they want to install a fence that with a greater height due to ongoing conduct of the neighbors, conduct that you will have seen from the correspondence we have filed, is one of watching, peering, and listening, and physically ramming the fence, which was one of the latest pieces of conduct to occur. As recently as 2 days ago, the neighbor at 26 got very upset with an MLS officer that was on the property, who was there doing his job, confirming that the licensing bylaw had been complied with, I think about the pirate ship, but I'm not quite sure. One of the ladies on the property started to advise the MLS officer that she was going to ignore the police and bylaw and to take matters into her own hands with respect to the gentleman over at 28 Ilfracombe, who is my client. This just stands as an example of the type of conduct our clients face day to day. This new fence will hopefully start some of the healing that will be required, but it is at least a starting point as a new, sturdy, tall fence. It will be built entirely on my client's own property to ensure there is no debate over who owns the fence. Our clients are committed to trying to repair the neighborhood, but feel this can only start with a new fence. It is a sensible thing to do. Remove the element of debate that currently exists on the property while giving a greater sense of place, a greater sense of security, and a greater sense of privacy. Now, I would like to address some of the remarks that you have heard. All of the people that are directly impacted by the fence, except for the neighbors at 26, consent to this application. They are the ones that are affected. Great weight should be given to their concerns, and I ask that you do so. I understand that there is at least some indication of a level of support at some point in time from the neighbors at 26 Ilfracombe. The rest of it comes from, the rest of the commentary from surrounding neighbors is actually not from those that are impacted by the fence. I understand that there were some comments made in the deputation by the neighbors from 26 about their views and their concerns about the 8-foot fence going between the properties. I can assure you that the current status and the way that the properties are built, it will have very little impact on views at all. Ultimately, I turn to this committee and ask that you approve the fence as requested, modified as the application is for a full height fence and not one with lattice on the top. And I ask that you do this as our first step in our efforts to either repair the community or alternatively start from the old adage that is more true now than ever, that fences make good neighbors. Subject to any questions from committee, those are my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the deputant, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation, sir. I'm just wondering your thoughts with respect to, I think you pointed out that there, if the fence is installed, opportunity to work in terms of repairing, I guess, the relationship with the neighborhood in general. I'm just wondering, what are some of your ideas? And the second part of my question is, have you proposed mediation to your client?
We have discussed it, and we have opened at least the preliminary discussion with their lawyer about the possibility of conducting it. My clients don't have a closed mind. They don't want to live in constant fear and in constant barrage of inappropriate conduct, regardless of who's at fault. They don't want to live in that kind of a community, and they would like to repair it. Right now, there's not a lot of trust between these two families. It's very clear there's not. But if there is an opportunity, it's something that we would seize upon, I think, and realistically would attempt to do. But I think that the first step there would be a fence to start the discussion from a new place.
So you would not support the position of, let's say, a deferral on this item in order to allow for the discussion, as you pointed out, to take place, obviously between yourself and their lawyers and with respective clients to discuss this matter further, to see how we could resolve it going forward. Would you be in support of such a position?
Deputy Mayor, in some circumstances, I would support that kind of an approach, but I think in this specific circumstance, it will do more harm than good, and it will harm my client's own feeling of security.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answers to my question. I appreciate your presentation. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Those are all my questions.
Thank you.
I have questions of staff.
Any additional questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none. Questions of staff, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Madam Chair. I wonder if, I don't know if staff have a diagram that they can put up of the site itself and just showing where the fencing would be located, please.
Do we have staff prepared to do this? Just checking in if we have City Staff.
Madam Chair, it's Carly. We're just confirming if anyone from MLS is on the line. Madam Chair, it doesn't look like staff from MLS are on the line. We will try and make contact with them.
So, Madam Chair, may I suggest we hold this down until staff would come. I'm prepared to deal with the next item, which I believe is also in my ward as well.
Okay, SC 2528, application for a fence exemption 64 Gray Lawn Crescent. We have one speaker. Sarah Abdel Karim. Do we have Sarah on the line?
To the chair, I do see that speaker connected and they should be unmuted.
Hi, Sarah. Can you hear us? Do you mind unmuting? Can I recommend we go to speakers on 2530 while we're trying to get Sarah on the line? Do we have Debbie Michelli on the line?
Hi. Hello?
Hi, Debbie. You have 5 minutes.
Hi. Good morning, members of the committee, Madam Chair and Deputy Mayor. I am the residing neighbor at 161 Darlingside. We are the neighbors that share the fence in question at 163 Darlingside. So what we are asking is that you disapprove of the exception and for it to be refused, as we don't support it, the attachment to the fence, for various reasons, starting with the most important, our wildlife, birds. Sadly, the birds don't see the netting, especially at dusk and dawn, and they fly into the net. I've seen smaller birds like sparrows, baby birds getting tangled up in the net. This causes injury and damage to the extremities of their legs, feet, and they get entangled. We have such lovely birds around us here in the West Hill area, and sadly, they're disappearing. So let's try keeping the ones that we can control to keep them around. Also, I did submit a video. I'm not sure if you were able to view it. I was asked to send it as a URL, so I'm not sure if the committee was able to see it, but it's a home security camera that shows the two birds getting caught, stuck in the net, and it also shows how disturbed I am about it. It's difficult relaxing in your backyard and having to witness this complete eyesore. It's disturbing, and honestly, it's just cruel. Like, why hurt them? It's really unfortunate for the birds, and unfortunate that our neighbor needs to feel the drastic measures to have insurance for his kids' equipment, especially for the odd couple of times that their balls have actually come over into our backyard, which was returned back. I've had to record every incident so that we wouldn't be accused of anything, as we have been in the past accused of puncturing a hole in his one of his kids' balls, which his kid did it himself, because the police attended my house regarding this incident, and I've asked them if they wanted to come in and see how the ball never even entered my backyard. So that was one issue that we hopefully resolved, but obviously we didn't, because he felt the need to have to put up this net. We also we don't know why it's necessary to provide insurance for like balls. It happens; they get into our backyard. Like, it's completely pointless. It's like the balls will still make it over. Like that is now at 12 feet It's completely, it should be a 6-foot fence, not 12 feet with an attachment of a mesh. If a kid kicks a ball really high enough, like 15 feet, it's still going to come over. You play with a frisbee, it's still going to come over. And it's not a problem for us. We return it. We don't want to keep his kids' balls, or toys. I don't understand why he feels the need to do this. Also, if he feels the need that we're going to keep the balls, he should call the cops on us again, maybe, if that's the case. Let's not mention, it's a complete eyesore. It's a huge net. It's going across the entire fence of the entire backyard. It's pretty much almost 12 feet high. I look at the side of my window. I walk out of the side door. That's all I see is this fence. The neighbors behind us have questioned it. What is that? Neighbors walking past the front of the house and see the side of the fence, and they also just can't believe what that is. It's obviously not complying with the bylaws. It's only fair that he obeys the laws like we all have to. For every family that has children and their balls end up in their neighbor's backyard, are they going to be allowed to put this mesh attachment to just kill birds? It's supposed to be, he's calling it a safety net. Why doesn't he have it around his entire house? It's only to provoke me and my husband, to be honest with you, and all it's doing is causing harm to birds. And what if I plan on selling my house one day? What deal breaker will that be? It's going to devalue my house. Overall, it's wrong. It shouldn't be allowed. It's wrong on so many levels. It's completely unnecessary. It's pointless, as the balls are still going to make it over, and it makes a sad, unfortunate situation for the birds. Thank you.
Thank you for your deputation. Questions of the deputants? Okay, our next deputant is Peter Michelli.
Peter Michelli is my husband. I pretty much narrowed everything down. It's just if there's any questions after, he can put his input as well.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Andre Bagdasarian.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of council. Can you hear me?
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I am the owner, along with my wife, of 163 Darlingside Drive in Scarborough, Ward 25. I have 2 boys, aged 6 and 7 years old, and have lived in this home for nearly 8 years. The neighborhood is welcoming many new families, many with children. However, the neighbors immediately to my left and to my right have no children of their own. Now, I don't need to tell you how grateful we are to live in this neighborhood, especially now, where we have a place outdoors where children can play and safely spend time through the many restrictions on playgrounds and outdoor activities that have been brought on by the pandemic. I've strived to maintain good relations with everyone in this neighborhood, although this has involved more effort with some neighbors than with others. Despite being told I don't belong in this neighborhood and should move from here, I've accommodated numerous requests from my neighbors in the interest of keeping the peace. I won't elaborate here, but I'd rather focus on the matter before you today. As might be expected with young children, toys occasionally land in our neighbors' yards. Typically, with most of our neighbors, our children are allowed to either enter the yard directly to retrieve their toy, or the neighbors kindly return them to us, sometimes with some extra toys from their own grown children. However, one neighbor in particular believes that children's toys pose a choking hazard to their dog and has occasionally put them in the trash instead of returning them. My neighbor, who just spoke earlier, has spat in my face, in fact, in response to the incident related to the punctured ball. Past attempts at discussion have been unproductive or rejected outright. My neighbor speaking today through the chair, this is the closest thing to dialogue we have had in 6 years. That being so, installing this net is intended as a positive step toward keeping the peace and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Furthermore, ensuring that balls and toys aren't passed between households is especially important as schools close for the summer and we make our way out of this pandemic. Now, the net itself is attached to only one side of the backyard. It is lightweight, it's fastened securely, it doesn't sway in the wind, and doesn't block light or sight lines. It's neat and visually unobtrusive. You can hardly see it from the street. I care deeply about local wildlife, and on the advice of my neighbor, Debbie, I've added several hawk outlines to the net to prevent birds from flying into it. During the 2 years that the net was in use prior to this complaint, I never saw a single bird injured by it, nor has anyone shown me this taking place. My intention here is to provide a safe environment for my children, appease those who may be easily provoked, and promote outdoor activities in this amazing Scarborough neighborhood. For these reasons, and in the light of letters of support received from 2 of the 3 impacted neighbors, as well as the local police division, I request that you grant this exemption. As referred to earlier today, good fences do make good neighbors. So I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to respond to any questions you have.
Thank you. Are the questions of the deputants? So I have a few questions. So can you just speak to how you've improved the fence to protect birds?
Certainly. I've done some research based on some outlines that will typically get attached to window panes and glass to prevent birds from crashing into it, and printed up some life-size silhouettes of hawks. This has been affixed to the net out of durable material, a screening material, so that wind can pass through it, but it is a visual deterrent to birds to indicate that there's an obstruction. And I've seen birds fly over the net as opposed to into it. That said, sometimes moths and other insects may end up caught in it, but I've never seen a bird injured as a result of this net.
Can you speak to the discussions you've had with police? I see that there is a letter of support from the community officer.
Certainly. I mean, the fact is this is a long-standing acrimonious situation, which, again, as with most cases, this is, I think, the latest proxy for an ongoing dispute. Over the years, there have been a number of accusations against me and my family by the neighbors at 161 Darlingside Drive. And so Constable Rowe has been involved in those conversations, trying to mediate, trying to bring compromise to the situation. As a result of this, I've taken steps to modify the windows on the side of my house facing my neighbors such that they won't be able to look into my home or imagine that I'm looking out of my windows at them, all in the interest of keeping the peace.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions for the deputant? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your time. We'll move to speakers. Anyone to speak to this item? Okay, so I'm prepared to move recommendation 2 to grant the exemption to the property owners on the basis that we also have a letter of support from Toronto Police that have outlined the discussions that they've had as well. The clerk wants to display that. Motion 2, that Scarborough Community Council grant the exemption to the property owners of 163 Darlingside Drive to erect a proposed safety net fence affixed to existing vertical boards on the board fence in the rear yard to be maintained in the same condition without alteration. At such time as replacement of the fence is required, that the replacement fence will comply with Municipal Code Chapter 447 fences or its successor bylaw. Okay, anyone else to speak to this item? All those in favor? Any opposed? This item carries. That brings us back up to SC 25.27. Councillor Thompson, I know, was waiting to ask questions of staff.
Are the staff available?
Good morning, councillors. My apologies. I was connected the entire time. Just unfortunately wasn't able to connect by audio.
I just want to, before you start on this, say that I am now going to be leaving you in the very capable hands of Vice Chair Lai. So I will pass that over to Vice Chair to administer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Vice Chair, thank you. Through you to staff, I'm just wondering if you had a picture or a diagram of the site that you could put up?
Through you, Madam Chair, unfortunately, I do not. I do have what we call an iView photo that just shows you the schematics of the 2 lots.
Yeah, I've got that as well.
Right. Unfortunately,
that's fine. Okay.
That's pretty much all I have. Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you. So the fencing in question that we're being asked to look at, where will it be located on the property?
Through you, Madam Chair. To my understanding, the new fence will be completely located on the private property of the homeowners of 28 Ilfracombe.
I understand that. North side. right side, left side? I understand that.
Yep, I'm sorry. Let me
No problem.
quickly look at the report. I believe
Sure.
we've denoted which side it is on.
It's in between the neighboring properties then. Can we say
Correct. That is
okay,
correct.
fair enough. Do you have any concern, or is there any concern raised by the officers who had gone to take a look at the site itself? Because I'm presuming you yourself didn't go out. Would that be correct to assume?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, Councillor, that is correct. I did not go out.
Right.
The bylaw officers assigned to this complaint have been
Right.
there multiple times, but as well, the supervisor has been there, and he is the one who actually prepared the staff report for my
Fair enough.
signature. Now, to my
Would-
understanding, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
My
Sorry, I think I
understanding,
jumped in.
no, it's quite all right. I wanted to clarify, as there was some assumption that perhaps there wasn't a permit that was issued for the pool enclosure itself, and yes, there was. It dates back to 1988.
That's not my question. I wasn't asking
Yeah.
that question. I was just asking about the fence. I understand about the pool enclosure. Is there any issues with respect to sight lines? I understand that there are no sidewalks in the area, and so I'm just wondering, are there any issues with respect to safety issues if we were to grant this 8-foot fence from your perspective?
Through you, Madam Chair. To my understanding, again, from the supervisor who has been in communication with the property owner, under the fence bylaw, the first 2.4 meters from a lot line going back into the private side has to be open construction. Now, my understanding is that there will be no fence for that 2.4 meters. And then at the 2.4 meter lot line, property line, set back 2.4 meters, then the 8-foot fence would commence there.
Okay, fair enough.
Therefore,
So
there would be no obstructions.
Okay, all right. I don't know if you have this information, but there are other 8-foot fence in the area. There are other 8-foot fence that we have given approval to. Would that be correct to say this is not a precedent that we'd be setting? Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I would say that it's not a precedence.
Right. And so the issue around impact, let's see, the impact on 26. I think it was stated that, the houses are 9 feet and that there was a concern about sort of the visual impact. Is there a concern? I'm presuming that there is a gap between the homes and the fence that sunlight would go into windows and so on if there's a concern about that. Would that be the case?
Through you, Madam Chair, without being on the site, I can't say for certain, but I would imagine that a fair amount of there is space. So I would say that sunlight would be able to penetrate from both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your response to my questions. And I understand that you hadn't gone out there and so on. And thank you for being here. So this is very helpful. I just wanted to get a better understanding and essentially to hear from you as to whether or not there are any safety concerns to both the neighbors and the general community. And I'm presuming based on your response, there are none that you and the professional staff who visited are concerned about at this time.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, that is correct, Councillor, that there are no visible hindrances or safety issues. As I said, the only issue would have been the first 2.4 meters, but we have assurance from the property owner that they would maintain that as open in construction or no fence at all, and then start the fence at that point where they're permitted to do so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here to answer my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Vice Chair, those are all the questions that I had for city staff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thompson. Any question of staff by other members? Seeing none, speaking on the item, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Madam Chair, it actually pains me to be speaking to members of council on this item with respect to this particular street and this community. And in fact, it pains me if I were to speak on this item on any other street. I think this is the most severe of disputes that I've seen in my time here as a member of council between neighbors that we can't seem to resolve. We've heard from a lot of people, and I thank the people for coming out. Thank both the neighbors at 28 and 26 And I regret that we're not able to sort of solve the problem here today, because there's definitely a problem. These are friends. These were friends who are no longer friends, and there's this challenges between them. And as we've heard from a number of speakers, it apparently started with something with their children. And I think that in an environment where parents ought to ensure that they govern and help their children to understand and mitigate and mediate disputes and so on and so forth. I think both parties have failed in this case. And I find that's regrettable. Nonetheless, the parties seem to be of the view that there is no way to repair this relationship. They're strongly held views. I have spoken with both parties. I visited and so on. And these are folks that live in this community that I know. And in fact, I've gone onto that street on a number of occasions over the years to visit. There's a lady, Mrs. Douglas, at the end of the street who would have these wonderful street parties, and everybody would get together and have a great time. The young kids would run around and have fun and enjoy themselves and so on. So it pains me actually to think that we have come to this situation. Regrettably, I'm going to have to decide that in this case, a fence is going to may be the best option. In as much as I would prefer not to have this 8-foot fence, the fact of the matter is not an unusual situation, whether or not it's on this street or in other areas of the community. We've just dealt with one just prior, and so it's a similar situation. I do hope that the parties, 26 and 28, could find it within themselves to work with their legal representatives and create a dialogue for discussion. I would be very pleased to participate in a go forward opportunity of discussing how we can resolve these issues. These are amazing people living in my community, living in this particular street, Ilford Home. It's a beautiful street. People are, generally very nice, except we have a situation where two friends are no longer friends and they don't seem to get along. And it's basically eroded in such a way that it's affecting their children. And I think both of them need to be aware of that, because this creates more harm. And going forward, what appears to be an expression by one of the young children about the other and so on, I think that this should have been used as a learning opportunity as opposed to an opportunity where we are now having to bring this matter to community council and us having to get involved in this situation. So I am going to move recommendation 2, and I'm going to do that based on obviously the conversations that we've had here today, but also from our staff indicating that there are no safety or sightline issues and so on. The resident or the applicant is aware as to where they are required to start the fencing and so on, and that will occur. There are pools involved, and so they are fully aware as to what they need to do to ensure that obviously the safety of the the fence being installed and so on is assured with respect to the fact that there is a pool. And so it is with no comfort, Madam Vice Chair, that I move this. And it pains my heart, to be quite frank with you, to see a situation of this kind where neighbors just can't get along and children are involved and other young children are involved. And I hope to be able to work with members of the community and the two residents to be able to reduce the tension. So my office door is open, my phone number. People have that. They can call me, and I would look forward to working with them. And I would hope that the lawyers who are involved will actually work with our clients to see if we can repair what is a very damaging situation with respect to this relationship. So those are my remarks at this point, Madam Vice Chair, and I will just again move recommendation 2 of the staff report to grant the exemption.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion is option 2 is on the screen. Could Deputy Mayor, could you please maybe quickly read it?
Sure, Madam Chair. Grant the application of 28 Ilfracombe Crescent for a proposed wooden fence in the front yard and rear yard measuring 2.4 meters, 8 feet in height, direct and require that the installation be maintained in good repair without alteration, direct and require that such time as a replacement of this fence is required, that such installation will comply with Municipal Code Chapter 447, fence or its successor bylaw.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
And let's,
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Let's move back onto the timed item 25.28. I believe that we have a speaker on this item. Is Sarah Appel-Kiram on the line, please?
Madam Vice Chair, it's Carly with City Clerks, just advising that that speaker is no longer connected and did not intend to speak to this item.
I see. Okay, let's just move right on to maybe question of staff, please.
No, Madam
any
Chair,
question of staff?
I'm actually going to defer this item.
Okay, so you have a motion to defer this item?
No, I just
Deputy
came
Mayor?
up with it because I would have liked to have spoken with the applicant, and the applicant has withdrawn from speaking today. I did have questions for the applicant, so and I don't have that opportunity to question the applicant. So I would just, it was not my intention to defer it, but it is my intention to defer it now. So I would just simply ask the staff just to draft that motion form, just a deferral to the next community council meeting.
Okay, so perhaps we're going to give staff a little time and move on to the next.
Sure, absolutely. We can set this down. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Our
Thank you,
next
Madam Vice Chair.
item. Our next item on the agenda is SC 25.5, preliminary report 113 to 141 Montezuma Trail, zoning bylaw amendment application, Ward 23 is my ward. I understand that there's one speaker on the line, Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Madam Vice Chair, yes, there is a speaker and they are now unmuted. It's Kevin Wassermal.
Yes, Kevin Wassermal. Could you please go ahead, please, Kevin?
Good afternoon, Councillor and Council. Thank you. I was actually just on the line in the event there were any questions raised. I have no presentation or anything particular to add. I was just wanted to be available in case there were questions. Now that I'm on the line, I'd like to thank City staff for their hard work to date on this file, and look forward to hopefully a public meeting where we can further discuss the project with the public. Thank you.
Yes, Kevin, I do have a question for you. Could you explain to the members of Scarborough Council why you have changed the application from first you have, you have just developed one portion of the plaza. Now you have coming back to revise the application to include the whole plaza. Could you maybe explain a little bit to council members on your decision in changing that, please?
Yes, we had applied previously and received approval for a townhouse project on the northern part of this plaza. And that was the plan at the time to develop the north half, always intending, and I think it was very clear from our application, that eventually in the long term, the southern half would also be developed in this similar manner. And as part of the application process and approval process for the northern half that was previously approved, city staff asked us to show them what it would look like when the full staff or the full project was developed, and we did include plans for the entire site at that time, with the intention of, in the future, coming back to have that approved and developed as well. As we proceeded through the project and as time went by, we found that the health of the plaza was deteriorating quickly. Our long-term tenants that were primarily located in the southern portion, what we refer to as phase 2 of this project, were not renewing their leases. So we don't have any further long-term tenants on the plaza. There are only short-term tenants there right now, and we have numerous vacancies as well. And we became concerned about the economic health of the plaza and whether we'd be able to continue to support that operation going forward, and made the decision that it would be a good idea to apply for a rezoning of the southern portion as well, so that it would be could be developed as a comprehensive development with the northern portion.
Thank you. Any further question of the speaker, the deputant? See none. Any question of staff? No question of staff. Any speaker on the item? I guess if nobody else, I would ask perhaps as clerk, could you please place the amendment on the screen for me? Thank you. The amendment is just that instead of 120 meters, staff provide notice for a community consultation meeting to landowners and residents within 300 meters of the application site, and to additional residents, institutions, and owners to be determined in consultation with the ward councillor, with any additional mailing cost to be borne by the applicant. All those in favor of this amendment? Opposed? Thank you. Item is amended. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And this leads us to the final item on the agenda, which is SC 25.18, residential demolition application 2375 to 2381 Eglinton Avenue East, Ward 20, Councillor Crawford. I believe we have one speaker on the item. Lauren Schiff, property owner, are you online? Madam Clerk, can you please confirm Ms. Lauren Schiff is still online for the deputation?
Madam Vice Chair, I can confirm that Lauren Schiff is connected and had audio and is now unmuted. Lauren, if you can please select the unmute from your WebEx controls at the bottom of your window. Madam Vice Chair, Lauren Schiff is unmuted, but I will try and troubleshoot in the chat with her.
Okay, in the meantime, why don't we go back to Deputy Mayor Thompson's SC 25.27. If the clerk can put on the deferral, the deferral motion on the screen, we can vote on that one. I'm sorry, that is not 25.27. This should be 25.28. Okay, Deputy Mayor Thompson, please.
Madam Vice Chair, that consideration of this item be deferred until the September 17, 2021 meeting of Scarborough Community Council.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Items is amended. Do I need any items amended? Item is amended, whatever, I don't know. Thank you. So it's been deferred. Thank you. So how is it going with Lauren Schiff being unmuted?
Madam Vice Chair, I'm still trying to troubleshoot with the speaker.
Okay. You ask for your indulgence. Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Let me close my computer. Sorry. Okay, there. Can you hear
Okay,
me now?
Mr. Longship, yes, we can hear you. Okay, Mr. Longship,
Thank
you
you
have
so
5
much.
minutes. You have 5
Okay.
minutes.
Apologize for the technical challenges. First of all, thank you so much, Community Council, Madam Vice Chair, Councillor Crawford, and of course, Deputy Mayor Thompson for your time. And having listened to a lot of what is going on here today, a true, again, appreciation for all you do for the Scarborough community. It really is outstanding, and seeing the community grow as it does. The reason that we are applying for a demolition permit for what is 4 stores in a strip plaza that we control 16 of is that the neighbor to the east of us had a tenant many years ago in the dry cleaning business and has contaminated our site. There are currently, of the 4 stores, 3 residential tenants above the vacant stores right now. And we are starting our remediation program to clean the site. We've been after the neighbor to clean the site for many years now. Nothing has happened. They are doing something, but nothing of any significance. We've contracted with A&A Environmental. They have started the process, and the rigs are out now drilling wells. We will attempt to totally clean the site, ending up with a record of site condition on the property for mixed-use residential development. But in order to do this effectively and properly, demolition is being asked for in advance of the normal process, which would be to apply for demolition when we're ready to apply for rezoning and development of the site. And I'll answer any other questions there may be, and hoping we can get this demolition permit issued right away.
Thank you, Mrs. Shipp. Any question of the deputant, please?
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Crawford.
Just a couple of questions. So I'm looking at just a visual here. You have the 4 stores. This is a strip mall, so you have 4 stores sort of in the middle that you want to demolish, but you have interests in 16 others. So you only wanted to do only the 4. Now you've stated it's because they are contaminated. What about the other, I guess, 10 sites that are also boarded up at this point? Do you have intentions of wanting or looking to demolish those in the near future? Or is it just these 4?
Well, we would do those we have an application in for demolition for those as well, but we felt that let's move down the development process first, and it all depends on, there's 2 2371 and 2373, which are owned by one individual. We will see what happens with working with that owner to comprise a full development site. But at this stage, we're starting with just these 4 to start, because the contamination is most intense at these 4. And we may well not even have to tear the whole building down. We have gone through the whole process. We've had structural engineer provide city staff with proper information required for all this to ensure both buildings on either side are maintained and secured, fire route access and everything. So at this stage, we're unsure about the remaining 12.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I have no other questions.
Thank you. A question of staff?
I have none myself, but I will move recommendation number 3, which is to grant the demolition permit with conditions.
Thank you. Do we need to put on the screen? Yes. Councillor Crawford, please.
Approve the application demolition at 2375 to 2381 Eglinton, that a construction fence be erected in accordance with the provisions of the municipal code, that all debris and rubble be removed immediately after demolition, and sod be laid on the site to be maintained free of garbage and weeds, and that any holes in the property are backfilled with clean fill. Just a standard conditional support.
Yes. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Now, before I go to the enactment of bylaws, I just want to confirm with clerk that, Madam Clerk, that we've finished our agenda item for the day for Scarborough Community Council.
Confirming, Madam Vice Chair, that you have completed the agenda.
Thank you so much. So can you please put on the screen that we have to do the enactment of bylaws? Thank you. Can somebody please read this out? Move. Councillor Ainsley, can you please maybe move this?
Thank you, Madam Chair, that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as bylaws bills 525 to 529 and 558 to 561 prepared for the June 25th, 2021 meeting number 25 of the Community Council. Thank you.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is that it, Madam Clerk? Or do we have some
There's
more?
just one more confirmatory
Thank you.
bylaw.
Okay, Councillor Mantis, could you please move this?
Madam Chair, that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 25 on June 25th, 2021.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Do I need a motion to adjourn? We are done. Thank you so much. Thank you and have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye, all.